Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, to keep us positive, we decided to make this a drinking game.
Oh, no, I didn't know.
So anytime we say anything negative, we're going to buzz each other with this sound. That sound means that we are taking a drink, and we hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass, and we're going to watch a movie with more people staring at the floor than a carpet cleaning convention.
Jesus Christ.
I deserve that burn.
Do carpet cleaning conventions have carpets hoisted, raised, and lifted?
No, there's got to be you got to get the cleaner on the floor. You can't do it on the wall, or the water will run down.
You're right. Gravity is part of the cleaning process.
See, we tackle the big things on this show.
Okay.
Jeff, how's your butt this week?
I'm just very happy that it's all external, and I'm not dealing with any of the internal ones. You know what I mean?
Sure. Hey,
It's a valid
that
follow-up
is easier
question.
to get to.
We did get some emails.
Good. Also, it was great. I did a fast to try to give myself a day off, you know? And,
Ironically, they all had attachments, just like you.
I do feel like we got a... Elizabeth, my wife fucking got you, dude.
That was the best.
Sent you
That was the best.
Just a picture of an article that said Korean brands of hemorrhoid medication have been found to cause fatalities, and she sent the little text underneath that just said, "Check your labels."
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I saw labels first. I was like, did I do like a skincare joke? And then all of a sudden, I caught it second that it had like asbestos or rat poison or lead poison or something in the hemorrhoid medicine, and that goes right to the blood. That's Richard Gere. All right, people, we have to get into our episode. We're going to be talking about High and Dry, Akira Kurosawa, the random...
High and dry?
High and dry. Now, Jeff should probably do this
Radiohead
episode.
Kurosawa.
Still talking about your butt? Oh my God.
Jeff is neither of those things right now.
I guess we should introduce...
Not dry after the suppositories. I think that we're going to get to high and low in a second. The random year generator spun 1963 to set up the context of what was going on for our segment. I'm going to tell you about some movies that were going on that year, the box office, the Oscars, and Jesus Christ. And then a little bit of world context as well. What was happening around the world and in America in 1963 when this film came out? That's what we're going to be doing soon, friends. But yes, John, you are right. We have to introduce our guest, who's a returning champion.
He's back from his worldwide tour of podcasts everywhere this week.
That's right. Matt and Mark last week.
I'll do a little spinoff. We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroso. You can find his handle in the show notes. That's cbarroso.beer. The music on this episode and every single episode is provided by our guest. Dasein is here with us, aka Brandon. What's up, dude?
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's always such a
Welcome back to the show. What were you with us last time? What were we talking about?
Bonnie and Clyde or The Square. I can't remember which one was second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did 2 episodes.
Right.
We did 2
Both
episodes.
lasting impressions for very different reasons.
For sure.
Okay.
I think on one of them, I apologized afterwards. I said, Brandon, I'm pretty sure I didn't shut the fuck up the whole episode, and I'm sorry. I believe that's true.
Jeez, don't start apologizing for that. Who has the time?
Also, reminder that we have a YouTube and other things where you can check out and watch that. Brandon is standing this whole episode. He's so excited. Yeah. He's got the full samurai. He's
erect.
got the full set. He's fully erect. He's got the full samurai background here too.
I'm ready
he
for
is so
war.
fucking pumped.
Fuck yeah, dude.
He is so pumped.
Look at that shot.
He has the gumption of Sanjuro Tsubaki.
Oh my god. Yes.
AKA Sanjuro
Sanjuro.
Kawabatake, the samurai, played by Toshirô Mifune, who may come up in this episode. But that's right. You
man.
and John's background
myth.
here. And Dave, thanks for editing and producing these episodes and throwing them up there on the YouTube. Brandon, we're so excited to have you back. Actually, this is interesting because you were on Matt and Mark last week. So then when you asked to be on, because we knew you were coming on, and it seemed like you really wanted to jump on this one. It seemed like you're like, I want to be on there for high and low. And I was like, well, this is the one. Why is it? What drew you to this? What was the itch to get you onto this one?
I don't know. I guess I just caught the bug. Had so much fun last week on Matt and Mark. just wanted to keep going. And it was honestly in the midst of listening to your episode last week, I was getting inspired because it was such a good episode. And then when I heard what you guys are going to be doing this week, I was like, this has got to be the week. Such a good movie, such a good time. So
nice.
So thanks for accepting me.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
Usually when one of the Says text me the morning after the show, they want something cut out because they've said something they shouldn't have in the show.
I would never do that.
It was
Dave tries to drop the episode as quickly as possible.
I still maintain
there's no regret.
Now that I've been a guest,
does that matter?
I deserve to hear the unedited Noah. I want to hear that shit.
I have it. I have it.
Good.
Does that exist?
Have I earned it?
Yes. Are culprits there?
Everything we've ever said is actually backed up on a drive under this table.
Completely
unedited, the original show.
Nice.
I gotta burn that thing to the ground.
House to the ground.
Career takes off. How much is that worth?
Dude, you're gonna show up on Kimmel so much.
Hey, here you go, Jeff.
And Brandon, for mentioning a movie we talked a lot of shit of.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fuck that. Jeff and Dave, what is the drunkest you've ever been on an episode of The Love of Cinema? What do you think?
If you guys don't all say the Halloween episode, you're lying. There's no fucking question, dude.
I don't remember how that show ended, and I was operating all the tech.
We all vomited that night. I feel like we all
I did. I threw up. I did.
Marcus, who was on the show, apparently threw up into a bucket next to his, bin or something next to his table.
Dude, I was watching that one live.
5-hour episode. That was ridiculous. A regular one. Was it Noah? Because we were pretty belligerent there.
Oh, Speed 2. Speed 2 for me. I do not remember recording Speed 2.
I was very angry during Avatar.
With that fucking movie.
Anyway, yeah. We had fun on the show.
The franchise face-off, we drank a lot.
I think mine had to be Stay Hungry. Because,
76.
That was a good one.
If I remember rightly, I was slurring in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Mark's on, he buzzes us a lot, too. That's Mark of the Mad Mark Movie Show.
What's funny
He's getting revenge for Shrek.
The Stay Hungry one was Taxi Driver and Network, and then Stay Hungry. So we had a pretty good set of movies first. So the fact that you got really drunk. Whereas Speed 2, what year was that? 96? What else? We did Fargo, and I don't know why I got so drunk. But I remember I remember speaking and being like, I don't know what I'm saying right now. And I remember that while I was talking.
Dude, the part 2 of the 200th episode extravaganza.
That was on my list too.
That's high up there. You guys.
Which one was that?
Unhinged. We talked about that was the Oppenheimer 200th episode?
We talked about when we talked about bombing Australia with the nuclear war.
That's that one. Yeah,
it was Barbie Oppenheimer. It was 200.
Yes. I always forget that is part of that episode, and then when it comes and John starts dying, I just can't help it.
Oh my god, that moment was so funny.
Yeah,
well, friends.
Oppenheimer was so funny.
Your irrational fear that anybody was coming for Melbourne, Australia.
They did the nuclear test in Melbourne. Right as in the year 9. Yeah.
Well, ironically, I feel like I should point out historically the Japanese attacked Darwin.
Shut up, Dave.
We're just coming at you. We probably should have mentioned earlier that if you need to get to high and low quickly, if you have a book report due or something, we have show notes there that you can.
If you need to skip back this fucking solid gold, go fuck yourself.
Don't hate on our people, John. You're a TA at a popular, well-known film school here. People are coming for your insight. Dave just worked at a Broadway house this week.
Why do we only have 5 downloads this week?
We've got
Dave did.
Medical doctor.
Cheers.
Yes.
Yeah, we should celebrate. Dave he got into his first Broadway house, working his first Broadway show. Fucking cheers, dude.
Cheers.
Hell yes, man. Congratulations.
10 years in the making.
Cool. What did you do this week?
Now I'm like, well, what the fuck do I do now?
Working another fucking Broadway house.
Sky's the limit.
Fucking get in there. Get in that tiny little circle that just fucking hires and jerks off each other. You can do that shit.
Jesus.
Yeah. I know.
Is this what happens when John's family comes on the show?
What the fuck happened at Thanksgiving?
Brandon, did you have a good week?
I had a fantastic week.
See, I would have also accepted go fuck yourself, Jeff. as an answer
Jesus,
there.
yeah.
Guys, people come for their Kurosawa content, and this is how the love of cinema. A show where we pride ourselves on the staying
Gotta get it all out. Gotta get it all out now.
We've done 230 something episodes of this.
We gotta get a little loose, you know. We are a drinking podcast after all. So I definitely have a gripe. We'll probably get through some gripes here, but I think pretty quickly we're gonna get into our 1963 segment, and then at the end of the episode we're gonna tell you what we've been watching. Brandon here saw Civil War, which John talked about last week. So if you're out and about seeing movies and you saw Civil War and you want to hear Dasein's take, then you know you gotta stay with it until the end. But does anybody else have any gripes besides me? Brandon, I know you got to be itching for some gripes here. You know, you've been listening to the episode for a little bit. Anything to complain about?
Dude, I completely spaced and forgot to prepare a gripe. I wanted to, and then forgot to do it. You go, and I'll see if I can think of one.
You can totally complain about Matt and Mark on the show. It's allowed.
Yeah,
God,
sure.
that would be so good if you came on and just fucking roasted them.
Just destroyed them.
God.
They never liked my
it's so
Rex.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
No, it's. I decided it's better when they don't like them. It's way more hilarious.
The reason,
It's really funny.
the reason he's standing on this show is because Mark bought his seat so he couldn't sit down.
Guys, should we go around the country and host a live podcast with the five of us and nobody shows up to any of our venues?
Oh yeah, let's just
It's just me following the tour.
Oh my God, it's
We'll do
so
a Mystery
good.
Science Theater style where it's like we're just up there fucking talking shit. There's a movie in the background. We'll keep the sound low.
I saw someone do this in a bar in New York. They regularly recorded from the back room of a bar, and they had an audience show up because New York will go and see anything.
It's true.
Yeah, dude, people would
We'll
show up.
start in New York.
Yeah, right.
It'll all be
And
downhill from there. Yeah.
All right. So, Dave, John, do you have a gripe this week?
Never. I'm excited to hear yours.
Yeah, I don't
as
have a gripe.
always.
I mean, never. No, what?
When was the last time I griped? Years? When do we start that?
True. You almost never have a gripe.
Don't
That is true.
gripe.
Yeah.
When I complain, it's not funny. That's the problem. It's just me complaining about shit. It's funny when you do it.
All right, Jeff, let's get you on the ropes. Let's go.
Okay. Why is it that automatic doors or handicap accessible doors, which are a necessity, why is it when you don't push the button, they weigh 400 pounds? I have this thought that a lot of us, you know, where it's like, okay, well, I don't want to push the button because then it kind of, I don't know, I feel a little cringe, you know, pushing the button sometimes I don't need to. But then I was walking, I have two grad students.
It's a deterrent.
One of my students is a corporate lawyer. The other student he literally teaches at West Point. Active military, motherfucker was on the border with Russia. And I decided to play it cool. And I'm like his voice teacher. And I'm walking down the hallway. And I fucking trucked into this door like I was fucking in a Leslie Nielsen movie or something. I might as well have fucking splattered across it with my face like ripped up against the glass like an absolute lunatic. And it was like I was carrying the fucking couch and friends up the stairs just trying to get this door open.
Man, after the 80 pounds of chicken wings that you always eat, you still can't open a fucking door?
I have been overeating, but that doesn't immediately equate to muscle, Dave.
That's a throwback. That's a throwback to a previous gripe. Go and find it.
Look at gorillas. They're vegetarian.
That door has fucking like 30 pounds of gears in it. That's
Yeah.
why
It's so hard to open.
They gotta fucking
Okay,
open.
the thing is, and I don't know if it's a regular thing, but like the door that we just had installed in a theater I worked in a while back, you have to push the button. The door's not designed to open without it.
You're not supposed to open.
Yeah.
It's like
That
pulling
arm
on
is a robot and it's fighting you.
Do you remember when the minivans with the automatic sliding doors came out, and we were all still like fucking
So impatient.
yanking it, and
Fucking open.
somebody's mom was like, "Hey!"
That's exactly right.
It's like that.
Oh yeah, and then if they push the button while you did it, the thing would just have a conniption, like it was the robot in the Jetsons or something. It was you could not handle it.
That button's sole purpose is to open the door for you, and you're denying it its purpose.
I want to yank a fucking door.
Gotta
open
get in there,
sometimes,
man.
You know what I mean?
It goes very slow, and I don't think it's. I don't want to say it's not for me because then you sound like an asshole. It's taboo. It's hard to talk about, but it's like I don't.
It's a taboo.
Wow. I mean, no one's fucking their cousin. It's a door.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Everyone knows you don't mention it. Can he say that?
Jeff, I'm so the hardest. That was the hardest thing to happen to you this week, huh?
Jeff had a good week. Had a good week.
A heavy door.
Yeah,
I would like to say hi to all our listeners in Alabama.
that's right.
Who hurt you? Who hurt you, Jeffrey?
The hardest
so
thing
good,
that happened to me is I bumped into a automatic door that I didn't push the button on.
That's so good.
All right. Are you guys ready to talk about some movies?
I'd just like to thank all
Too
the
many
listeners
dark
who stayed
jokes.
around
Yeah.
after that last joke.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Okay, let's do it, people. 1963, the random year generator spun. And so now we are here. It looks like I used two different sources, and the top 5 films top 6 films for sure.
That's called
are definitely our
research.
top 5. That's research, people. Research. So we like to start with the box office. 1963. Can anybody in here guess what was the highest grossing movie that came out in 1963?
Carry on camping.
Is that a
Uh,
movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got a few. Carry on camping. I've got a few guesses. Tell me if I'm right. The Sword and the Stone.
I'm sorry. No, no, absolutely not. In fact, for that,
The Great Escape.
Great Escape would have been my guess.
Great Escape's a good guess. According to Box Office Mojo, that came in at number 10.
Wow.
Jesus fucking
Jeez.
Christ. From Russia with Love. James Bond.
From
a good
Russia
guess.
with Love is not in the top 10 of either list.
Bye Bye Birdie.
Wow.
Bye Bye Birdie is actually a better guess. Number 8, according to Box Office Mojo.
Oh,
Charade.
fuck. King Kong versus Godzilla. It's got to be.
King Kong vs. Godzilla, no, but I will say the receipts for the international movies probably difficult to rely on. So pre-Jaws,
Yeah.
pre the
I was gonna
70s,
say,
it was really
we've-
difficult
we've
to
covered that
This is
too.
the year of the birds.
Ingmar-
Right? The birds.
The Birds did come out this year. The Birds is not in the top 10.
No shit.
Ingmar
Wow.
Bergman's heavy religious drama, The Silence.
Definitely.
Silence?
What the fuck is it, Jeff? Come at me. Is it Lord of the Flies?
Lord of the Flies is not on the list. So these are all great films, though. This is great.
Yeah.
Number 1, believe it or not, people, Cleopatra was number 1 at the box
Oh,
office
shit.
in 1963. Now, a lot of you may know Cleopatra as the movie that sank Fox Studios. Well, let's talk about
Yeah.
it for a second. Cleopatra was and remains the only movie in history to be number 1 at the box office, but still lose money.
Wow.
It was hellishly expensive.
It
Dude, it had to
cost
have been. Yeah.
$50 million to make in 1963.
Which is an indie these days.
Now, just to
Yeah.
remind you all, though, the average income was $5,000 a year. The average house was $12,000. Gas cost 29 cents a gallon. Eggs were 45 cents. Fuck, you know how the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now is 38,000? At the time, it was 700.
Dude,
And Cleopatra cost $50 million.
I just did the conversion. That's the
was gonna say, I'm doing
equivalent
it right now,
to
too.
$505 million today.
Yeah, based on those
505.
numbers. Based on those numbers,
Jesus,
500
Marvel
million.
would not do that, folks.
Yeah.
Except teeny tiny problem. I'm trying to find it here. They sold 67,000 tickets, but unfortunately, tickets cost about 50 cents.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not exactly the surge pricing of Avengers Endgame.
What were they
But
thinking?
yes. So Cleopatra, and now a little pop quiz, going back to an earlier episode, 1963 and 1965, a movie would come along that would save Fox Studios, because Fox Studios was essentially bankrupt for 2 years, trying to figure out how it would pay off its dets. What movie in 1965
Like, hey, let's start a news
would
network.
save Fox Studios?
1965?
Yeah.
Sound of
But it's-
Music?
Ding, 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 ding. Robert Wise is the Sound of
Nice.
Music with Save
Nice.
Fox. Ironically, Robert Wise had a movie come out this year called The Haunting, which is
About-
very different
that's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
from West Side
The
Story, and
Haunting,
it is the
That's a
Hill
great
House
movie.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, with Julie Christie. That came out this year. It's funny that they would turn to the horror guy to do The Sound of Music about Nazis and say, please save our studio.
Robert
There you
Wise
go.
was a Robert Wise was an editor, if I remember correctly, and he had cut. I think he cut some of Citizen Kane. He was around the.
Oh, wow.
I might be
Sounds right.
fucking misquoting, but I think he's like an OG editor, and he finally stepped up, and like they just knew he was solid gold storyteller.
Bob, there you go. He would go on to win 2 Oscars. The other one for West Side Story. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
West Side Story.
Cleopatra was number 1. Number 2, How the West Was Won. MGM Studios, $20 million at the box office.
Oh
for the
yeah,
box
sure.
office.
You know, I have
think
never
that's
seen that.
cheaper.
Is that fucking
Same.
Is that John Ford?
It's a co-directed piece, back in that studio system. But John Ford co-directed that film. Yes, that's right.
Everybody gets a turn.
Like an enormous
That's
cast.
right. But
right?
they actually got credit. Awesome cast. Yeah. It's a mad world comes in at number 3, slightly ahead of Tom
Never seen that one,
Did you see the
Cheers.
runtime on It's a Mad World? I don't
It's like
remember that.
So over 3 hours.
something?
3
Yeah.
hours and 20 minutes. I don't remember that being
Yeah.
that long when I watched it as a kid.
Oh man,
good sign.
Back in 1963.
And then number 5 is Irma La Duce.
Melbourne.
Irma La Duce. These are all United Artists films. There are 3, 4, and 5. To round out the top 10, Son of Flubber, Charade, Bye Bye Birdie, Come Blow Your Horn, Move Over, Darling.
Was that all one movie? Or
How did these
Come
beat
blow
Hitchcock?
your
I don't
horn.
understand.
Yeah.
Move Over, Darling. Came in at number 9. And maybe those are 2 different
Come
movies.
Blow
And
Your
then
Horn.
The Great
Yeah.
The Great
First
Escape.
porn to
at number
break
10.
into the industry.
Other movies in the top 20, just to shout out, include The Birds, include HUD, which is a Paul Newman film, and The Sword in the Stone is in there, as is Move Over, Darling. Very chauvinistic shit going on here. A couple other, there's amazing films. I'll let you highlight a couple others here, but just a few tiny little facts here. Let's see. Best Picture would go on to Tom Jones, which would also win Best Director for Tony Richardson. Fucking Tom Jones, people. Sidney Poitier would go on to win Best Actor for Lilies of the Field, which is pretty cool. Patricia Neal would win Best Actress for HUD. Best Supporting Actor would go to Melvin Douglas for HUD. And Best Supporting Actress would go to Margaret Rutherford for The VIPs. And Best Foreign Language Film goes on to Federico Fellini's 8.5 would win.
Pretty good movie.
Best Foreign language film. A couple other things. Sword in the Stone was a huge Disney hit. And that's all I want to say. Oh, this. An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge was the first Oscar-winning film to have aired on network television prior to the ceremony. And
Oh, cool.
here's a list of some other movies in case you want to shout out any that haven't come out yet. Any of these jumping out. We have talked about The Great Escape, as John may have mentioned before. We also talked about
Nice.
To Kill a Mockingbird, which I didn't even realize came out this year, to be honest with you. But that must have been the same year as Great Escape that we talked about. Any of these other movies come out that you want to mention?
I did make a joke about it, but I do want to call out my boy Ingmar Bergman had 2 movies come out the same fucking year. That's how prolific he was. Winter Light and The Silence, and they are the second and third movie of his religious trilogy. If anybody feels like getting very serious and sad about their religious existentialism, I recommend those movies. He's not fucking around.
Quick
As long as
adjustment
you don't
before I
have
get
to
here.
think.
Quick adjustment. Google fucked us because it's saying To Kill a Mockingbird came out in 63, but that's bullshit. It came out in 62. And very famously,
yeah.
Gregory Peck beat Peter O'Toole at the Oscars. Peter O'Toole did not win the
Right.
Oscar for Lawrence of Arabia, even though it's widely considered one of the best performances of all time. Sorry.
Right.
Fuck
2
Google.
10s. 2 10 performances. 10 movies.
Yeah.
I would shout out
fucking happens.
the first John Wayne movie I ever saw, McClintock. Not one of the more famous ones, but that one came out
Nice.
this year. I enjoyed that.
John
and
Ford?
then
Say that
I
5 times fast.
don't remember. The other one I was going to shout out was Charade. Good romance suspense.
Dude,
Another,
we almost chose that one. I haven't
did.
seen Charade.
yeah, yeah.
We did.
I'll shout out. I am sad to say, Godard still hasn't like rocked my world the way he rocked so many people's worlds. But I did enjoy Contempt. That came out this year. It's a weird kind of behind the scenes of a movie about this relationship gone awry. I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was pretty cool. 1963. Godard, 1963. Yeah, that is the right year.
What's
Sorry,
up?
I thought it came out later. Jean-Luc coming in. What about you, Dave? Anything?
Nope. I think we covered
nope.
everything.
The original Nutty Professor came out this year, and Days of Wine and Roses about alcoholism is just made into a
Apparently we
musical,
didn't.
which I saw. So shout out.
fuck is Son of Flubber? What the hell is that?
Yeah.
The Son of Flubber.
Why is
yeah, that's
Flubber
hilarious.
fucking?
HUD. HUD. HUD was also in competition and nominated for the Golden Lion alongside our movie we're going to be talking about at the Venice Film Festival this year. High and Low was joined in that in the Golden Lion nominations. And I made a joke about it earlier, but I do want to call this out. The very first time, my 5th birthday, Brandon was 1, and I had the beginning, one of many times where I had boys come spend the night, some friends come spend the night for a sleepover for my
boys
birthday.
spend the night?
Sure. Sorry.
We've all been there.
5 years old. And the movie that I chose to screen for that night, my first of like many, like, let's get together and watch a movie, was King Kong versus Godzilla, dude. Don't overthink it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Don't overthink it. Like Sarah Lee.
It was really fun. I fell asleep, but I stayed up all night and watched.
Classic. That happened to both of us every time.
We're heading to Japan for Kurosawa's High and Low after a string of period pieces, many of which starred a samurai who would be cast as a fucking awesome character in this here film. Can I give you some context? 1963, what's happening on in the world? Are you ready? The U.S. started using napalm gas in Vietnam.
Ooh.
The
Started a fun one.
The March on Washington, August 28th, 1963, which was largely in response to a whole shit ton of things. But Birmingham, Alabama, it's actually a bummer. Some press likes to cover it as when the Ku Klux Klan used dynamite to blow up a Baptist church in Birmingham, which of course is terrible.
I was going to say that slowly. You're like, if they're going to be proper cunts, pronounce their name properly.
Yes, fuckers. Yeah. But it's important to note that they were actually standing up for the fact that a lot of sympathy was being gained for a black college student, Dorothy Bell, 19, who decided to sit at a lunch counter. And then many other sit-in attempts were happening around Birmingham. There were 20 attempts before this bombing happened. So
I think Spike Lee made a really great documentary about that, didn't he?
Did you say there were 20 attempts?
There were 20 sit-ins, yeah. 20 sit-in attempts, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought you said there were 20 bombing attempts.
People got arrested like
shit together, can they?
Yeah, people were arrested all over the place like crazy. Okay. The United States and the Soviet Union agreed to establish a hotline, which is the red phone that the United States has on its desk and the Soviet Union had on the other side during the missile crisis there in 1963. This was also, of course,
can you imagine it rings, you pick it up, it's like, yes, is your refrigerator running?
Oh, God. There's a crank call on the red line.
Putin crank calling.
Yeah. That, of course, would be JFK on one end of that. And JFK this year gave the famous Ich bin ein Berliner speech in Berlin, which, by the way, I was taught bullshit. I was taught that Ich bin ein Berliner was I am a jelly donut, and it was this whole thing because it's supposed to be Ich bin Berliner.
Oh, somebody had a laugh with you.
But a Berliner was never used in Berlin to describe that particular type of roll or donut. That was literally the word for pancake in German. So ein Berliner makes total fucking sense to people in Berlin. It was only a derogatory term used by people outside, but it was a conspiracy theory. It was bullshit, people. Ich bin ein Berliner stands.
Travesty.
It's totally fine. It's like saying I am a New Jerseyan or whatever. It's fine. But in 1963, unfortunately, the bigger news is that JFK would, of course, be assassinated on November 22nd, 1963, in the Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, assassinated by a whole bunch of mob people and perhaps some people in the government. I mean, by Lee Harvey Oswald. Due to the high cost of daily maintenance and repairs, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary officially closes. Also, after Clint Eastwood and a couple people escaped.
Because Clint Eastwood kept digging the walls out.
Clint got out.
Yeah.
Clint got out. The United States Postal Service launches the zip code system.
Yeah.
Shit.
The Beatles. 63. What did they do before that? Just say Jeff's house, the blue one.
Yeah.
How did mail work before that?
Best
addresses and zip codes.
Dewey.
You better have gotten your town right.
Yeah.
I don't know how New York City handled it. The Beatles would release I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I Saw Her Standing There as A-side, B-side, which would kick off Beatlemania, which already sort of took off in 1962.
Ironically, I feel like Saw Her Standing There is a better song.
I'm with that, but Hold Your Hand was what they played on the... well, I think they played both of them, but Hold Your Hand I feel like was the first one they played on Ed Sullivan. Is that right? Am I right about that? Music fans? Wasn't I Want to Hold Your Hand first?
Asking the wrong guy.
I thought when Ed Sullivan says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles," I thought they played da da da.
I think that is like the most famous one from that set, at least. I don't know. That's what people go back to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles. Yeah. The Profumo crisis in the UK caused resignations in the cabinet. That was when whatever his name is, Profumo, who's in the cabinet, used a call girl and tried to cover it up. That's right. There was a prostitution ring going on in the UK cabinet there in 1963. Studebaker, the U.S.
Not the
car
first
maker. Studebaker, the U.S. car maker, goes out of business, ends production. U.S. Senate approved ratification of the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The polio vaccine, which is taken from a lump of sugar, is given nationwide in the U.S. and the U.K., except for the anti-vaxxers who ruin everything for everyone.
And if anyone's wondering why we didn't have polio for 50 years, that's fucking why.
Yeah. The Great Train Robbery happens in the UK this year. The first ever U.S. state lottery is held in New Hampshire. And last but not least, all three Howards appeared on the Andy Griffith Show. Rance and Clint joined Ronnie Howard. That's right. That's big news to go out on.
End with a bang.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Red freckled bang.
Ronnie Howard, Academy Award-winning
my light
director.
just went out.
Your light. All right, people, you ready to get into some high and low?
Yes.
Yeah.
For the love of God.
Ironically.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, now I've lost you too? Now it's not just Dave coming at me?
It's a clean 32. An even 32.
32 minutes? All right, people.
Check your show notes.
I can write some code that just shuts his mic off at 20 minutes if you want.
Oh, come on.
I don't know who you're talking to. Okay, people, it's time. We've been waiting patiently. This movie is available on
one of the-
Max
the little
and
black
Criterion. Get your
battery.
Criterion subs up, people.
It's, like one of our batteries.
Also, I just want to say at the end of this movie, when it comes up with the end and Max, the stuff it offers you after that is epic.
Well, really? Yeah?
I got offered.
all right.
I want to hear what yeah, hold on.
Yeah, what were
We'll get there.
yours?
It was like you might
All right.
like, and then it's like half the like Kurosawa library.
Oh, okay.
Lots of Kurosawa.
I thought it was going to be
and,
like Dumb and Dumber or something. Like
Oh my
completely
God, no.
irrelevant. No, so this is the beauty of the Criterion app. They let it just end.
I would put a screwdriver inside my television to get rid of the cache.
Yeah.
If it
I got
recommended
really
Dumb and Dumber
pissed.
after that.
When I finished the new look and they just started playing the trailer for Palm Royale, I was so mad. Like it just ended. I was ready. And then all of a sudden it was like, hi. And they just, I was
the
like,
little
stop.
white bag.
They've
And
got to
you-
stop
not-
doing that.
Where that little white bag that I brought, the little type bag.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, John's doing sign language. Okay. All right, people. High and Low, 1963. As John mentioned last week, it's one of the more memorable, if not like, he did a lot of period pieces. So to
Yeah.
have this contemporary piece, obviously contemporary to 1963.
I had no idea this existed.
Yeah, it was a miss for me. It was a miss for me as well. I chased
Oh.
the samurai tales.
So it was the first time for all of you.
Was it a first time
Yes.
for you, Brandon?
It was the second for me.
What? Oh
Yeah.
my God, we got the experienced vet on the pod this week.
Was
No
this one of the
shit.
ones you fell asleep to as a kid?
Fell asleep.
Dude, no, can't fall asleep to this. It's riveting.
Yeah.
It is, I agree. Even if you can't understand it without the subtitles, I bet you probably couldn't look away whenever. When was the first time you
Well, you
watched
can't
this?
look away because then you won't understand a damn word they're saying.
Correct.
Fair enough. It was a couple of years ago during the pandemic.
Ah. Were you on a Kurosawa kick or did it just
Totally. Watched like most of them. There's still a couple
Wow.
I haven't seen. Stray Dog, but
Straw dogs.
is
Stray or straw?
Stray, I thought. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Is it stray and I'm totally off?
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Stray
we need
dog.
an
You're
answer.
right. You're right.
So we are going to do the usual. Very simple. I'm going to read the IMDb description of what this movie's about, and then I'm going to send it around the horn to hear what your thoughts were, what your feelings, your initial takeaways, what you think, what you feel watching this movie. No stuffy criticisms here. I want you to shoot from the hip. Go from the gut. What you think, what you
Fingers on the
feel.
trigger.
High and low. An executive of a Yokohama shoe company becomes a victim of extortion when his chauffeur's son is kidnapped by mistake and held for ransom. What'd you think? What'd you feel? Brandon, since you I feel like we've already gotten you started a little bit here. Do you mind if we start with you?
sure. I feel so much when I watch this movie. The first time, it was interesting as a second watch, kind of knowing how it unfolds, but I'd forgotten about the structure of it. And I know we're not like analyzing yet, but I think that lends itself so much to the intense feelings that you have during this movie without spoiling anything. The whole first half of the movie is built up to show like the character of the people involved, so that in the second half, when they're actually doing all the investigating, the stakes are so much higher because you have so much emotionally invested in all of these characters that you just care so much about what's happening and if they're going to catch this person and how they're going to catch them. So I had the same feeling that I did the first time, which is just I was completely gripped by the movie. For such a slow and patiently shot movie, it just flies. And you care about every scene, everything that's happening, all the nuances of the performances and the way that it's shot and the way that it follows people, usually just in a room. It just somehow, despite all of that very kind of subtle filmmaking, it just hits you in the chest so hard. Right from the beginning. I didn't think I'd ever give a shit about women's shoe sales until he started talking. And then suddenly you could feel the passion.
Nobody
and it's like that throughout the whole
one. No, I know. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. From start to finish, this thing just has you.
All right.
It's so good.
Dave, what do you think?
This was a first watch for me. And my first impression was nobody's watching this on streaming yet. Why are the credits huge?
Okay.
Because they are enormous. Like, they fill the screen. And
Modern day David Fincher, dude. Fincher does that.
I know, but I always have a humorous thought at the beginning of watching anything from the 60s. After that, we settled in, and it grabs you. It fucking grabs you and just takes you on a ride. And the most exciting part about this is the second you settle into this aspect of storytelling, he changes the style. Because the kidnap plot, essentially, though, the kidnap is done and dusted and the kid is home halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And then we go into, it's almost like an episode of Law and Order. You've got the crime, like, result of that, and then the investigation. We just don't get to the courtroom. But it's every time you start to go, all right, where is this going? They resolve that and move on to the next section of the story. But the style is different. It's almost like watching like 3 different movies. There's like the first half reminded me of the first section reminded me of like Rope. Like it was like Hitchcock Rope in style of staging and stuff like that. And then we went to the train, almost like a train heist where they're doing the handover. And then for the last part of it, it's a full-on detective investigation film. And that's 3 different fucking styles of movie in one movie. I was wrapped. They had me by the time they resolved the kidnapping plot, and I'm like, where is this going to go now? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it grabs you right by the balls.
Right by the stones. John, what do you think?
Yeah, man, it's fucking brilliant. He's as famous as he is for a reason, and I'm excited to talk about Akira Kurosawa in general. But this picture that I have, the thing that I couldn't stop thinking about the most while watching this was his staging. He's so famous for how he moves his camera. He doesn't usually stay static, and they're always motivated by performance. It's always really exciting. But as Dave said, a lot of the first half of this movie is in this single location. So it's always exciting when you watch somebody who is known for having a kinetic, voice in the way that they film shit. And this was no exception by any means. Guys, it reminded me a lot. And I would venture to say Akira Kurosawa influences everybody. So I'm not saying it's just this movie, but it reminded me of Bong Joon-ho's staging in Memories of a Murder.
There's a lot.
Good call.
There's a lot of these wide shots and these moving compositions where you start in a close, you go to a medium, you end up in a wide, dirty foreground. Everybody's in the background. Like there's all these amazing things, and none of them felt superfluous or stylized. They all felt like we were just they helped raise tension. They put us in the room. And when we left this room, my God, the way his camera moved through the city, especially when they're tracking him, starting in that club scene was magnificent. The train sequence is fucking brilliant. There's so much tension. And yet, I do just want to echo what you guys have said, but definitely jump on the simplicity idea. In case anyone doesn't know, Akira Kurosawa wrote everything that he ever made.
Co-wrote.
He started as, he has a great story, something like an autobiography. If anybody wants a good film book, it's a great quick read. Kurosawa's autobiography that he writes. Started very young, working at a film production company, totally worked his way up from the ground, eventually was assistants to directors and started screenplay writing and mostly wrote, and then eventually got to direct and kept writing. And so I can't overemphasize that not only is the story relatable because of its simplicity, but I think one of the more, why do we maybe feel comfortable saying that this is more than just commercial cinema at the time it came out? It's because it has some kind of secret baked in commentary, if you want to see it, that comes from this wonderfully established point of view of the kidnapper, the villain. And it's our punctuation too. It's this last scene, his voice. We get to literally hear from his mouth, his point of view on the whole situation. And I don't know. I think that there is something that it feels like it's available to everybody to watch and enjoy. And I think everything we're saying is true. I think most people could sit down and have fun time watching this movie. But if you can find a way to sneak in some kind of commentary or message on society, I mean, that's where maybe your art comes in. And he is just it's so subtle. It's not heavy handed. It's hidden in, amazing filmmaking. And it's just,
I know.
doesn't let you down.
You get that a lot more from like Japanese and Korean films than you do from a lot of American films. Yeah.
Well, let's take a step back, and we already acknowledged that most of Akira Kurosawa's movies, not most, but most of his famous movies are very, they're set in period. They are usually based on lore, fairy tales, samurai fables, a different piece of history from Japan. And when you're dealing with those kinds of, they're almost like parables. They're archetypal.
Yeah. But even this one, if you strip the business suits away, it's a shogun in his castle, and they're trying to depose him.
Beautiful. I mean,
that's exactly right, because the staging is very similar to a lot of his other films. The way that they
So no, just Dave, you just said it so well, but I have a feeling that everything we've ever heard is true about the movie brats, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Brian De Palma, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese. They are all obsessed with this guy. And I think more than anyone, even though George Lucas literally lifted some of his stories, Spielberg is probably the most shameless copycat of Akira Kurosawa.
Yes.
The way he moves his camera, the way he hides all of his spinach in thrilling filmmaking.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter what the fuck the story is. He's going to find a way to make it tense, accessible, thrilling, entertaining. And if you want it, there's art. There's just but you're in the hands of a master as well.
And the social commentary.
And the social commentary. What's that last line the guy says? No, fuck you. I'm not scared of going to hell. If I were going to heaven, I would be terrible. Whatever that last line was. That's the last line of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the whole fucking thing just comes down, and you hear the screaming, the sound design. Remarkable,
and they're
scary,
working
thrilling,
with a mono
creepy.
track too. Like it's single track audio.
Beautiful.
But
when those fucking drug addicts were like,
dude,
coming at him like zombies and
like
shit,
ghosts.
Dude, that played like a vampire lair.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anyway, I'm sorry. I talk too much. I want to get into the weeds more, but Jeff.
A couple things here to set this up. They're doing a remake of this film right now that Spike Lee co-wrote the script and is directing.
With Denzel.
Denzel Washington, Ice Cube, and Jeffrey Wright.
Nice.
Nice. I was going to comment how I couldn't believe that they hadn't done it. Yeah.
Isn't it cool? Also, this is based on the book by Evan Hunter, King's Ransom, which is a part of the 87th Precinct novels, which are actually New York. So I actually love this, like with Ozu films, where these are post-world. Awesome. Kurosawa exists in post-World War II Japan. So as Western, maybe we don't have to think about that too much, but it is kind of wild to see all these historical samurai tales, the pride, the culture, the history of an area, like as a Western audience, and Spielberg watching this in the 50s and 60s, after we dropped bombs on them and destroyed cities, and so watch them like Ozu, watch Kurosawa make films with such dignity, with such class, with such art in that time period. I do think is fascinating and goes without saying. I think it's important to mention. We talk about social. I just mentioned social commentaries in there for sure. when I realized it, I didn't know anything about this. When I realized this was a kidnapping movie, I was like, oh fuck. I was like, I just didn't know if I had it in me for that. Like, cause I know it's gonna be so fucking tense the way that Kurosawa does this. And I was like, God damn it, I'm gonna be like fucking stuck trying to find this like little boy. And the money stuff was like freaking me out. The fact that I mean, as soon as he said that he basically put the whole house up, you know, for
right. That's
collateral, I was like, well, that's fucking stupid. And everybody knows it. But it's like, but you're, and I'm sorry, I'm splattering a little bit here, but Brandon, you mentioned the women's shoes thing. The tension in that fucking scene.
Yes.
I was like, should I be laughing right now? Because they're talking about shoes as if they're war bonds or something.
There is definitely some stuff that like is, I think it might be unintentional comedy. I don't know. It's like later when the police are like the guys listening to the tape. He's like, hey, listen to this. And 30 guys in singlets lean into the frame.
Yeah. Oh, and the way they laugh.
Yeah.
They laugh at times where I'm
Singlets.
like, oh, that's fun. They're laughing at that. It's singlets. It is... He's the best by far. There's no question. I know you Kubrick fans out there. Go knock yourself out. I can't believe how good he is. The whole time I'm aghast. I'm aghast at how incredible he is. The way everything's staged, the environments, it's all intention first. But... you know, and you don't even notice things, and I almost feel like an asshole or like a weirdo for even saying, you know, when they're doing the wiretapping thing, when they're trying to figure out the trolley lines, they're behind a gate.
Yeah.
But you can see the recording devices through the slot. Those are clean. And then when you hear the guy says, listen to this, then the camera shifts down so that you then see their faces.
So you can see all the singlets.
And then you see all the like 8 other guys come into the frame, and they're perfectly framed, even though it doesn't look like they just like ran into spot like they're doing a musical number. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second, this is the same shot that was behind a fucking gate, as if I'm ordering something at the pool in the 90s. And now all of a sudden, I'm seeing the most beautifully framed like Last Supper portrait here. And then the guy gets the thing and walks away, and then I'm like, holy shit, that was all in one take. The way that
I do wonder what those guys were doing.
all the background, the press, like every single time they had these group
The whole
scenes,
police force was dedicated to this case.
I know, it was so good. But I got comps to everything. The chase scene was like better than the French Connection. Same thing with the train. And the image of the two, we now know them as auntie and uncle, holding the boy, with them like looking down with the hat, it's going to haunt my dreams. The look of those two people as the train passed, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I was afraid of the kidnapping thing, but it was so step by step. It was so piecemeal with all of these crazy environment things happening. But I think for me, the signatures, for me, besides that, I think that's the signature shot in my mind, not the of the film, but in my mind, is when his old right-hand man comes back. And he basically went behind his back and he tried to pretend like, oh, I was fighting for you. I you know, that whole scene.
Yep.
Gonzo, aka our boy, the samurai, asks the two detectives to stay. And here is this scene. And this is essentially the first time that he is confronting somebody out from the outside world now, from not in the family, not a detective, for giving up the money. Where he basically is saying like he knows he made the right decision and he stands by it and he's really proud of it. And the detectives are in the foreframe. They're in the foreground. They're in the foreframe.
Staring
while
at the
this
floor.
is happening.
Yeah.
It's not in their face. They're there. And then he offers them the cigarette and they don't take it. And so they're there and they're like this weird conduit between us and this very important scene. And as soon as that guy basically says, look, you're bluffing, you don't have anything, you have debt, then the two detectives look at each other and they sigh and they reach down and they pick a cigarette. In the fucking foreground of this confrontation, it's like the ballsiest, boldest shit, but it's like what Kurosawa is doing with these supporting characters to help us as the audience connect with these main characters. I mean, I would go on for 10 years. It was blowing my mind.
The staging is next level.
Yeah, gush that, man.
That's it.
Did you guys know that when Akira Kurosawa was a small child, they thought he was dumb? He couldn't write. He couldn't read very well. It wasn't until like 7 that he showed any like academic prowess at all. And even then, he was like held back. They thought he was like special needs.
Didn't he also have like a huge like a career drop at one point and attempted suicide?
It was in the 70s or 80s because Francis Ford Coppola's company tried to produce one of his movies because nobody would fund his films. And he came back and made Dreams. I think that's what I think he made Dreams with them, and Paul Schrader helped produce that as well.
No shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think you're in the hands of somebody who he also edited a lot of work at that production company that he cut his teeth in before he got there. So you have somebody who's like touched all of these elements, and I guess I still can't. The thing that still might be the most it's not the most impressive, but knowing, if you know what I've just said about him, that yeah, he learned how to movies were made. He learned how to produce them. He learned how to write them. He learned how to edit them. He learned how to direct them. When you get to the directing, that matters. Like, you're thinking about talking with actors. He sat beside amazing artists who came before him, such as Ozu and other directors who I'm sure he was watching them work with actors. But the fucking performances in his movies are incredible, and they are often filled with actors like this. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of moving parts. Some of them are background. Some of them are extras. Some of them are supporting. A lot of them. I mean, it's just so remarkable to me. I've worked as an actor in this medium. I've worked as a director in this medium. It is not easy to move and stage camera and actors the way he does and still have your actors give full lived performances. Now you move here when I move here, you move here when I move here. When he does this, you go back here. It feels there's something very, very technical about it. And you never notice that when you're watching his films.
Feels completely
it always
natural.
just feels like and I don't know if they're all just, it doesn't hurt that you're fucking falling in line behind leads like Mizuno. That's his name, right?
Mifune, right?
Yeah, Mifune. And some other amazing leads that I'm sure are like, you know, this guy's fucking great. We love this kind of challenge. They pumped out lots of movies a year back then at that company that he was working in. So it was just another day in the life for them. But I'm just always so shocked by it because there's so much of the actor's director, you know, even somebody like Paul Thomas Anderson or Quentin Tarantino, who, you know, is kind of famous in contemporary times for, I follow my genius, brilliant actors that everybody knows their household names and the camera moves with them. But I think Spielberg is a closer comparison to move a camera the way he does and still have it believable to when, like, somebody like, you know, Jeff Goldblum finally has how the side of his face comes into the foreground when they're eating lunch in Jurassic Park. And he says the line, you know, there are any females in here? You know, and know, that whole, the projections are all over him. That is not easy to do, folks. That's not easy to stay alive as an actor when there are that many fucking technical marks you're waiting on to achieve a scene. And this was one of the most flawless examples of that I think I've ever seen.
Do you know what? When we had the first ever, I'll call it like, I love the handoffs and the chase sequences, but I'll call like it a point of view handoff where it's right after the money drop and right after you get Sashiri. I forget the boy's name. The
Shishinko?
The chauffeur, Sinshi, the chauffeur's son. Right after that exchange goes back, and they essentially like, okay, well, now we got to start to look. And then you follow this strange man. All of a sudden, the camera is going to the right, and then it just starts following a person to the left, and it goes through the alleyway. That reminded me of the girl in the red dress.
Oh, nice.
In the red coat. The way that all of a sudden that you're following these people, and then all of a sudden it's like the camera finds this person and just follows it, but without it seeming like it's like binoculars. Well, I mean, I don't know why that reminded me.
He pulled that later as well, literally, the girl in the red coat trick with the pink smoke.
Yeah.
Pink fucking smoke. That was so cool.
I can't believe all the things that they did and it finally came back. I forgot about that. And I was like, no shit.
And Dave, I'm sure you noticed, I know I'm obsessing over moving camera here, but when it goes handheld and shoulder later in the movie.
In the train.
Like
I fucking noticed.
It's starting in the train. When it comes back, when they're following him back to the hideout, or not the hideout, the place where the aunt and uncle, where
that was
going to go murder.
I think they called it the hideout.
Man, just the times where he evolves his movement based on what's happening emotionally, or to throw us off so that we can't quite see everything that's happening.
Yeah. You've gone from an apartment where it's basically on sticks, the occasional like dolly, but very like it's just a slight movement.
It's controlled for sure. Yeah.
He only moves the camera when it's absolutely necessary, and then suddenly we go to the train where you go still. Okay, we're getting near the drop point. What's this phone call? And suddenly we're on a shoulder running down the fucking thing, and then we're back to still, and then we're on a shoulder, and you're getting agitated, and that's exactly what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was like
Guys.
a case where camera
Yeah.
movement was a choice.
I'm just nerding out, but I'm gonna celebrate this too. I wish I one day will have the fucking balls to trust my audience enough to stage a scene the way he did the club scene. He did not go out of his way to make sure you could only see the people that were most important. Like, you had to pay attention to that scene.
Yeah.
That whole room was fucking alive. And he taught you that immediately by his reflection shot coming down and the tracking.
I will
and
just
here comes the
say,
people tailing. But
do not check your phone during the club scene because you will miss.
Oh my
important
God,
shit.
You'll miss it.
So
Not a word is
good.
spoken.
handoff. What a believable, the twist in it's so fucking, it's grooving. There's something,
But it's
Quentin
like
Tarantino loves that scene. You know he does, right? It's
like
entertaining.
he's gonna buy heroin
It's fun to watch.
and what follows is the most elaborately staged and choreographed drug deal in history.
Fucking
like,
awesome. His
yeah.
glasses, God, so cool.
Oh,
Sorry,
I'd be
we'll talk about
remiss-
your glasses later. Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this movie has incredibly effective use of music in that you don't, after the opening credits, you do not hear music again until they find the boy. It's like halfway into the movie.
Wow.
It's just been silence. And
Oh,
then finally,
interesting.
when
I
you
didn't think
see
about
them
that.
running towards each other, these fucking trumpets start blaring. So effective.
Oh. And, the music where they catch him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's is it Blue Moon? What is it? What song is it? I can't remember. It's
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I remember thinking that's good.
It's now or never.
It's now or never.
It's a
so
fucking Elvis, yeah. Yeah, dude, yeah. Yes, the music was sparse. I noticed that as well.
There's
And,
opera at the beginning too. It was this kooky kind of opera.
and the sound effects. Every time he opened his window.
Oh, yeah.
There's something, again, there's just like,
That-
we
I
could all
mean,
just take a lesson from him.
If you're talking about when he opened the window in the apartment, that might have actually been the spill from the city.
Yeah.
Sounded
Well,
like-
actually, but there was
yeah.
that one really high pitched, like strange effect that very clearly made it not totally realistic. Like there was always something a little off about the perceptions of the camera, the perceptions of the people. I don't know. There's something there.
I'm assuming Kurosawa was married. Did he? Yeah, he was married from 45 to 85. Did she know that he probably was just going to be thinking about his movie the whole night? Like, there's no way that he didn't think about this movie every second of his life until
Jeff, don't
rap.
spill the beans. Elizabeth listens to these episodes. But George Lucas said in his AFI interviews with the students, if you think about movies more than sex, you're going to have a career. I mean,
Wow.
this guy was obsessed. How
Yeah.
many fucking movies did Kurosawa make?
What it takes. I heard a podcast. I heard a great line from a podcast about Miyazaki, similar kind of thing. Or like, he was a wonderful father to all of us, unless your last name was Miyazaki.
Jeff, I've heard you quote that about
Oh my
Spielberg
god, that's
before.
so good. Wait, how does he actually raise his 9 kids?
Yeah. Spielberg. Right?
Honestly, dude.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Kurosawa? Before
All right,
we,
let's
let's
do
do
it.
it.
Kurosawa list.
Dave, do you have one?
At the moment, it's this one.
I mean, this
Good.
is so great.
Solid
It's so
choice.
Good answer.
Yeah.
No,
Good
'cause,
answer.
Like, I hadn't seen this. I've seen a few of the others, not as many as I probably should have, given the movie circles that I like to watch in. But yeah, this was really good, and who doesn't love a good detective procedural?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, this is as good as it gets. I honestly, it makes me
Yeah.
want to rewatch Memories of Murder for sure. After I've talked to Angela, I
Yeah.
was like the frustration of not being able to find that guy.
Watch Mother. I saw that.
I know that.
I saw that on the weekend, and oh my god, brace yourself, it's fucked.
I know. As soon as you didn't offer me comps, I definitely really wanted to see it for sure.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I don't. It was my first fucking day, dude. I don't even clout to demand comps.
You guys have now covered my
I'm willing
top
to
3
steal from
favorite like detective ones. This one, Zodiac, and Memories of Murder.
Yeah, Zodiac. Hell yeah. Well, Brad, I want to get to your
number one
list
is-
in a second, but yeah, John.
Okay.
It's still Ren, but
Ron, John.
Ron. No reason to compare any of them, but yeah, I think that one was still the
Yeah.
the
Well,
most like.
I
What
remember.
the hell was that experience? But
I forget why. Maybe it was after Magnificent Seven. I wanted to rewatch Samurai, and of course it was like 11 at night that I started it, and I was already drunk from this podcast, so there's no way I was going to get through a 3.5 hour Seven Samurai movie. But it's brilliant. I mean, so is Rashomon. I understand why they're so important, and they are absolutely
so
fucking ridiculous. And I love Fortress. I think there's something awesome about that feisty ass princess. It's so fucking great, and the way she fucks with everybody. But And I think you and I, John, both watched Yojimbo and
Yojimbo. Fuck yeah, dude.
And
Redbeard.
But
Redbeard.
I honestly think this has moved up to my number 2. I mean, it's perfect. But Ron, I mean, when we saw it at the Film Forum, there weren't even that many people, and the Film Forum isn't exactly like IMAX or Dolby, but holy shit! I mean, it's my favorite epic I've ever seen for sure, and it's just it was so. I mean, it was. And the guy who plays King Lear or whatever, that like character, it's when he walks out of that, when he walks out of that fortress and they're both sides are battling and they just stop and watch him and don't say anything as he just leaves the grounds. He just like, walks out. I just
want the guy to walk out and then turn around and walk back in his castle.
Yeah. He just turns around.
The fight starts again.
But that's up there with the 2 kidnappers with auntie and uncle with their head down and the hat and the boy. That image is going to be in my head forever.
Yeah, I mean, that image was something. It kind of made them not human.
Are you talking about the Super 8? The photographs?
Where you see the 2 of them looking down and then the boy is like next to the one.
Yeah.
I also loved
it. Almost becomes a non-event in what's going on. Like they're just way in the distance.
I mean, that was like... I know normal people don't think about this, but of course the filmmaking was in your face in that sequence with the fast stuff and the use a camera, and then we know we're going to see a camera like a Super 8 or something, a photograph. But I also loved another aunt and uncle moment.
I do want to know how that guy the guy was crouched down with the 8mm up, how he knew to turn the camera.
Well, it's a fucking movie. That's all. The aunt and uncle reveal that they're dead. His use of the drapes and the veils, the mesh in front of him and the camera, just so simple.
You never see legs.
Never, ever misses an opportunity to try to create something more compelling in the frame. It created an emotion around it. It created something. Something happened to people as the boy approaches. The handkerchief raising to the mouth. The other guy, the bald guy, Bosun, walking around to the other window and the camera moving aside and us shooting across them, never showing us them.
He went from from a guy who didn't say a fucking word and just appeared in the corner of scenes to a highlight of that movie in the second act.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Try not to blend in. For me, it's no problem. For you, plastic surgery.
So many unnecessary digs at that guy's appeance.
It's so good. But then,
why don't you go talk to the kid? Actually, you're going to terrify the kid.
I'm going to see later when they finally catch the guy and he goes upstairs and then the other detective stands up and then our rat face guy yanks him to the ground to make sure that he doesn't. He was brilliant. He was so
He also cries when the boy and the father are reunited. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
turns around and weeps and wipes his face with a handkerchief.
Now, I want to say one thing made me flashback to our earlier episodes, because we're sitting there. I'm sitting there watching the movie, and we go through the whole drug buying sequence and the test and everything, and we get to the cabin. And he's in the bushes, and he stands up, and the camera, the sunglasses just reflect this lake.
Yes, I was about to talk about that.
I leant forward in my chair. I'm like, how the fuck did they do that?
How did they do that? How did they fucking do that?
I don't know.
They do you want to know? Because I'll tell you. It might ruin it.
Yeah, Brandon, we'll talk to you later about your list.
Yeah, we'll go back to that. But the sunglasses are on an angle, and they had a projection screen here, just above him.
I had a feeling they were somehow angled some weird way.
It was projection because he wanted to capture that in camera. But the glasses were on an angle. He was on an angle.
So
but
cool.
You could not
so many small little moments
so well done.
like that.
Because until I researched it, I'm like, how the fuck did they do that in '63? That was some we have a problem. We need to figure this storytelling out. That's what filmmaking's about, right there.
I know.
It's how do we get
much
this?
It cost?
Yeah,
99 cents.
Yeah,
fucking right.
I had to film a sunset and then have a projector. Done.
Brandon, what's your favorite Kurosawa?
Yeah, what's your list? Talk to us.
I'm with you, gentlemen.
One other thing.
It's
no,
Ron.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Ron is number one. It's undeniable. securely just beneath that at number 2 is Seven Samurai. But for the number 3 spot, I go back and forth between this one and Ikiru, which it's so powerful. I don't know if y'all have seen that one.
Nice.
They actually did an English adaptation of it last year or the year before called Living with what's his name, Bill Nighy.
Oh
my God!
Yeah, I didn't realize that's what that was based on.
We've always done Ran at least twice on this show, and I haven't seen it yet. So,
Dear
that's
God,
the
man.
one. I know it's the one that I need to see, and I just haven't done it yet.
So good.
It's undeniable. I mean, yeah, I'm a sucker for epics too. So
A real epic
Akiru.
for sure.
No shit. Look at Akiru.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. I gotta see it.
Kishi Shimura. Sorry, he's been in other Kurosawa movies.
yeah, you'll recognize his face.
He was in.
for sure.
He was in Rashomon
Seven
and Seven. Oh my
Samurai,
God! Yeah,
Straight
and Straight
Up,
Up.
yeah.
Yeah, powerful.
Just cast
story.
good
God damn.
actors and make them fucking work. How awesome is it that they had the most iconic movie figure possibly of all time up to that point, the samurai, internationally known. He's like basically bigger than Godzilla as
Samurai.
the patriarch in this fucking movie. And he basically, I mean, it's not that different.
But it's a completely
this
different
role.
It shows his range, you know?
But
For
it
sure.
reminds me of.
Yeah.
It reminds me of. I mean, and there's a reason why they are like so iconically recognized, but they're so similar. Bergman and Kurosawa both did the same thing. They had like a troupe of actors that they worked with over and over and over again
Yeah.
because they were
Fucking
both
do it.
unusually
Ozu, same.
prolific. So
Yeah.
I don't think they had the time to think like, who am I going to cast now? They just kept. They had actors in mind. It's always easier to write when you're thinking
it's
of
always-
actors.
yeah,
Like, it's just way easier when you're writing for particular people.
Yeah.
And it never fails. Like they just step into these different roles and challenges, different time periods, and it's always refreshing and exciting. And I know film fans, if you're with us, you know what we're talking about. If you're not, after you watch a couple of these, you start to see those faces over and over again, and you get excited. There's something familiar
I mean,
about watching those faces
we all have our
in a
groups.
different scenario.
It's like when you get some people that you know are going to bring it, and you can just let run rampant. You keep those people, and you do a lot of work with
Yeah.
those people.
I want to see
Guys, who are some of your favorite? Who are some of your favorite director actor matchups? Let's just
Scorsese
fucking
De
call it
Niro
out.
comes to mind immediately. I mean,
even more
For
than
sure.
Leo?
Leo
Yeah,
has
it's gotta
done
be
like
right.
way more than yeah. That's a good one. How about Denzel and Tony Scott?
hell yeah.
I'm gonna throw that fucking out there.
Watch out for Denzel and Spike Lee after this remake comes out.
If it
Fucking
comes out.
James
nobody?
Cameron and Schwarzenegger.
James Cameron
James
Schwarzenegger.
Cameron and Schwarzenegger. What Jennifer Lawrence is the guy that did the Hunger Games? Doesn't she always do movies with him?
PTA and
Who would it be? I mean,
Yeah, I was trying to think of his.
Philip
Phil
Seymour
Seymour
Hoffman.
Hoffman. Probably Phil.
Yeah.
yeah.
We need one
they're
more, either like for the
Johnny Depp and Tim Burton.
There.
for the
That's a classic.
Yeah. I need one more. I feel like I need one more to be
Al
on this
Pacino,
level.
Al Pacino and Sidney Lumet.
Sidney Lumet.
Yeah.
I feel like I need one more, either like Depp, Burton, or there's like a couple other that are like cusp, but they're
Oh,
not on this level.
how about-
this fucking guy? Go ahead.
Owen Wilson and Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson. Sure. Boom. Yeah, there you go. Hit the button. Oh, I thought you were. I
thought it was too. I was like, which one?
Me?
Yeah,
No,
what's
no.
he doing?
My monitor will just be like, it's gonna go off in 5 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I have to like push the button, otherwise it'll go off. No, but I mean Kurosawa and oh fuck, shit. I closed it. Shit, fucking shit.
All right. Do you want to
Toshirô Mifune.
Toshirô Mifune. I don't know them. They. I think it might be higher than.
We didn't say it, but if we're gonna
Scorsese.
go there,
Yeah.
we're going for Ingmar Bergman,
Let's,
and we're going for fucking
Yeah. Sven.
what's his name? God damn it,
Yeah,
get to
no.
the controversial
Shit.
part of the episode?
Max von Sydow.
Max von
Max
Sydow.
von Sydow. And
There we
Ingmar
go, yeah.
Bergman.
What
Oh my
about
God.
Gina Rollins and
my God, there's no stopping
Cassavetes? Come on.
And Cassavetes, sure. Oh, I love it. See,
John Wayne, John Ford, right?
Come on, Dave.
Dave, what you got?
Get in there.
Nothing.
George Cukor.
I want to lay down a bit of a controversial point.
Okay.
Controversial point.
Oh,
I didn't
shit.
like the ending.
What?
Was it too quick for you? Did you feel like it was just over?
I felt like it was a little bit of a cheat. It was almost like M. Night Shyamalan in The Village when they explained everything. I got too much. I feel like it could have pulled back and left it a little bit more ambiguous. Like when he goes and sits with him, and granted, that was a fantastic performance. That guy's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
But I feel like after that journey, they could have left his motives more ambiguous. So you don't really know why this happened to him.
Part of me wonders, Dave, because, I mean, I'll entertain what you're saying, because part of me did feel like,
I'll play ball.
was that last scene there to raise the stakes on the social commentary?
Yeah, exactly.
So that this person could have a voice. Because, you know, it really threw me off, and I thought it was really fun that he's not a beggar on the street, right? He's not a taxi cab driver.
And that was a very interesting question that he asked him. It's like, how were you... What was your hardship?
He's an intern.
Yeah.
He's a medical intern. He's going to be a doctor. He has a decent life ahead of him.
Yeah.
And yet, that just the discrepancy, the fucking economic gap and, you know, living quality of life gap between them.
Yeah.
So part of me wondered if
that made
was
it,
that scene
made
really
it very
there?
poignant.
Yeah, so that the social commentary could be fucking crystal clear that we're not done giving this man a voice. Which is kind of what, soon as, Dave, that makes me think about what Brandon was saying earlier about the structure. I got so excited, and I always do in movies with killers and thieves and whatever. I get so excited when we're not in the third act and you meet the killer or the thief, and you're like, oh, good. We're going to get to see a point of view. We're going to get to see motivations and behavior, and we're going to understand two sides. And I just kind of felt like that was him saying, if I leave you thinking that he's just the guy who murdered these two people to steal money, that might not be enough. But I also hear what you're saying. And that there was a lovely ambiguity.
It just for some reason I felt like that would have gelled better with what I'd seen to that point.
I'm with you. I wonder. We can't go back to 1963, but I feel like we knew all of the shit he said as an audience here in 2024.
Well, there was even stuff
but Gondo didn't. So I do feel like it's funny. This is happening during the Trump trial. We didn't look at Gondo's face very much, if at all, during that last scene. And then the final thing is he
just
basically...
in reflections, which was beautiful.
And then it gets closed on him like he's staring at a vault or like something that he can't get into, or like a prison, right? Where that thing closes on him.
That shot, by the way, I just sorry to interrupt you for a second. That shot with the reflection reminded me of the Joker scene
Paris, Texas.
the Joker scene from the
Paris,
Batman.
Texas as well. Yeah.
I was thinking the inappropriate, also Joker.
Yeah.
Jeff, what were you saying?
Paris, Texas. That's great. So it's a coda. The it's over. It's the graduation speech, and it's like everybody's sat. Now we got to finish it. We've been looping it for a while. We've been doing it, and now we just have to get an ending. We got to do it. I wonder if it's almost a reminder that at first the class doesn't matters. It does matter. It's not insignificant.
I can see that.
This. So I do feel like it's just sort of a little reminder. Also, Gondo doesn't have a very big role in the second half, in the final act, in the final third of this movie. He doesn't have much of a role. He's got the sympathy, and I kind of like the Travis Bickle ending where it's like, fucking crazy lunatic is hero, and I'm okay with that with Gondo. And it's like, wealthy fucking guy gets all his money back, and he's gonna be fine, and he can still live in a castle on the hill.
I do like that the subtext of that, where it's this wealthy guy who is escalated to a hero, and the public is all behind him, but he was gonna let that fucking kid die in Act 1.
Oh yeah, not for a second at the beginning did he consider.
Yeah,
just immediately.
And why? I mean, look, we have to think about this other day. We're sitting here right now where Tesla lost $800 million in stock, and everybody's fine who has money and stock. And yeah, they have to deal with the press and shit, but they're not the ones getting laid off who have to deal with how to feed their family and stuff. That ebbs and flows. But it's like to have this guy actually just face the consequences of, I know this was heavy for you. I know it was a lot. I know you went through all these emotions, but at the same time, this is the real world for everybody else. You are not really a part of it. You have exempted yourself from it, and to just have them, have that reality be there, but also without judgment. I think from the filmmaking perspective, even because the person was a crazy lunatic. He didn't just sit there and be like, "Be careful. If there is a heaven that's real, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do." End of movie. No, it ended with him going, "Ah!" Like just so you know, you live in a mansion on the hill, but the world is chaos, and you are a part of it. And you are exacerbated. I don't know. I thought it was just, I was okay with giving the filmmaker some rope to just say their shit. And it wasn't even the ending to me. It was just a coda. And it was just, he got to say what he wanted to say.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And Dave, I would almost always be on your side with that. I'm not a fan of epilogues or codas. I think they often take away from the movie the impact of like whatever inflection point they end on before that. But this one, I think there's two reasons why I'm glad it's in. One is just the sheer performance and sound design of that scene is just, I would be sad if I'd never seen it. The way the echoes and like when he's rattling the cage, just everything about it is just so visceral, and which you'd never see from that character at any other point in the movie. The other thing is, along those lines, you do learn one more thing about that character that has not been apparent up until that point. And it's the reason, because they almost like know you're going to be asking, why is this scene here? Why are these two meeting? So they have Toshirô Mifune ask him, why did you want to see me? And the killer or the kidnapper says, because I wanted you to know that I wasn't afraid at the end. And that in and of itself justified the scene for me, because you don't
that's fair.
know where he stands until that moment. And like all he cares about is like shaking his fist one last time at this guy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy has gone off fucking crazy. He's
it did for me, even though he was terrified and he almost just ate a bagged dose of heroin. But you know, it's okay.
It's just a physiologic response.
Which is also cool. But again, that is cool. And that is Parasite, right? At the end, it's like, sorry, I'm not shaking because I'm worried about dying. I'm shaking because this is what happens when you cage a bunch of wild animals underneath you. They start to rattle cages. I don't know. I'm not saying Kurosawa is a revolutionary socialist or anything like that, but I don't know.
I think he was awake and an artist and responding. Yeah. It still takes me back though that like we're kind of having this conversation about somebody who very clearly made very entertaining cinema.
It's fucking entertaining. You're right.
Boring, highbrow shit. I just wanted to make one last comment that something I kept thinking about was in his screenwriting was Ron Howard in his masterclass. I've made this comment that I've always thought about, where he said, not every movie is a mystery, but I think there needs to be mystery in every movie. And I know exactly what he meant when he said that there's something about why are we next? Why do we pay attention in these like limited, hour and a half, 2 hour things? You kind of need to have a reason to keep sitting there. Yeah. Whereas with serialized stuff, you really can get away with a lot more long form conversation, character development, as long as there's a hook at the very end of your episode to get people to come back. But with movies, I think there is something that really needs to make every single scene lead to the next scene. And one way to do that is employing this idea of mystery. And so the first half of this movie, almost half, first 50 minutes of this movie, when they're in a single location basically the entire time, he employs this device multiple times that I thought was brilliant and so simple, where you establish the reality where detectives are tapping your phone in hopes of tracing where the call is coming from.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Multiple times, though, he would answer the phone after they had already done that once or twice, and it would cut to the future where they were dealing with the aftermath of that particular phone call and referring to the tape of the phone call.
Yeah.
And there were so many things like that might sound
that's
like
economical storytelling.
Guys, that's the kind of shit.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shit you would hear in like your
just like our
101
podcast,
screenwriting thing. And we get it from masters like him. There's no reason why that can't be artistic. It seems cheap and commercial to just like, oh, come on, follow me. But you know what? Certain kinds of genres just require it. And every time I'll redact what I just said. Every time I watch a fucking Kurosawa, I'm reminded that fucking throw your genre out the window. Just make it compelling. Who gives a shit if it's mystery or drama or ancient? It doesn't matter. Every single story we tell could be this compelling, and he is proof.
Well, he had 3 genres.
It doesn't matter
in
what
movie.
the subject matter it is.
Yeah,
Well, I think
I know,
what they,
man. It's just remarkable to me that he was so successful at it.
I bet you if somebody asked him on set, do you know you're making a brilliant movie? He would say, of course not.
I'm just making.
Not.
Yeah,
I just
really
know.
hard.
I just know. I'm answering all the questions as an audience I would want answered, and
Yeah, it's his acceptance speech for
that
Rand, right? He just said, "I'm still learning." Fucking like 88 years old.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I must say,
I think it's important to. Sorry, Dave. I think it's important to point out that he not is a fuck that. I don't ever want to do that. He was not. It was not like that at all. But he studied underneath an apprenticed Ozu for a while, who is a king of static storytelling. And there's still something beautiful and lovely that I think he's made some of the greatest movies ever. And they're the polar opposite of this.
Yeah.
So it's also
nothing.
just
It's empty hallways while people are standing and talking. Yeah.
It's just remarkable that he was able to find his own voice with what I think is very clear as an intention to make sure that people are never going to be bored watching my stuff, but I can still sneak in what matters. Sorry, Dave, go for it.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, like, watching this in the modern day, like, because obviously it's 63, but a lot of the themes that are there are obviously very prevalent again, and it just highlights how much corporate systems and humans are incapable of change.
Well,
So, like, watching this might be my supervillain origin story. When I go full end of Fight Club later in life, this is the moment it started.
But I felt that his commentary was very specific and a little progressive in the sense that he was making a comment on the systemic nature of it.
Yeah.
Because there was that one scene where the detectives were like, Bosun was like, I grew up poor, so I never share any sympathy for the rich. But after watching this man go through this, I kind of can't help but respect him, Well, and they all try to show that one, and they have that
one drop of dialogue. At first I despised him, but now it echoed everyone's thoughts.
Saying.
Exactly.
So there was that whole sequence there, and they did a good job, which again, this is just fucking screenwriting 101. Have that rich fucking millionaire sit on the floor and fix something with his own hands. He was like, oh, taking me back to my apprentice days. Like he fucking clawed his way to the top. It's not his fault. I think that's something that he's observing, that in our system, when you're at the top, you make exponentially more than these people. That's a problem with society, not a problem with him necessarily.
Also,
he wasn't a conformist.
Corporate can turn you into a right fucker, and I think he realized that as well.
Well, he wasn't a conformist.
But he wanted to make good shoes.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Well, he felt like he had to fucking go after them in order for it to work. He didn't want to,
Yeah,
anyway,
it's like the money was a side effect.
Make good shoes.
It is a side effect. He was just a passionate man that it will not be fucked with. No matter what happens to him, he will rise to the top.
Yeah.
Just like he does in this situation. And that's proof that money wasn't the motivator, because he sacrifices his whole fortune to not be fucked with and to come out and do the right thing for what he believed in. And I'll double down on what you're saying, John. I think another thing that I just loved about the way they carried his act of sacrifice through the rest of the movie, which it would have been so easy. And if this movie was made now from scratch, I think it would have been in there somewhere that like, well, fuck this guy. Now he's just like the rest of us. No, that's not how they used it as motivation. They're like, remember his sacrifice. They actually recognized and empathized that it's not just that the rich guy isn't rich anymore. This meant everything to him, and he sacrificed all that mattered in order to help this boy. And we owe it to it's for Frodo moment, instead of just kind of just minimizing him to the rich guy.
And
although he needed his wife to convince him to do it, but it was great. Yeah.
Sure. She was the only one talking sense for a while.
But to your point, Jeff, because I know we're joking, like, of course, those things are there on purpose. He wasn't sure he wanted to do it from the beginning. But you know what we never see after it's done? We never, ever see him complain about it.
Right.
Nope.
True. No,
it doesn't mean that he's not. It doesn't mean he's not.
Like, it's
alone
funny
in his
that,
bed
like,
staring at a ceiling.
Yeah,
but
the fact that he said, I'm going to pay to give them more time, and then turned around and went, okay, I'm really going to do it.
Yeah. Without telegraphing anything. It was not indicative.
Because everyone, including me, was just shocked when that came out.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in the scene had the same reaction I did.
I know. Elon Musk would never do that, which is why Tesla lost $800 billion worth of stock.
Was that scene improvised? It's like, I'm going to fuck with this whole movie.
All right, friends. I feel like that's a really great point to start wrapping this episode down. So
High and Low is fantastic.
It is great.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you all for
if you're
your
a fan of
insight.
detective stories, you're going to love this.
I actually can't believe how I do feel like this is the one. You know, you're talking about Zodiac, you talk about Memories of Murder, you talk about fucking Seven, all these other detective stories, and I feel like this
Ransom.
is the one. This is the
Remember that
middle,
movie?
the French Connection, all
Yes.
of them. This is
Mel.
ground zero for them. I feel like, you know, not just because
Yeah.
it came first. It just, God, it's so good. Even better
Yeah.
than the noir films. It's so fucking perfect. Oh my God, I gotta see Mother. All right, people. You know how it is. We spin the random year generator, and then we tell you what we've been watching at the very end of the episode, after we hear a very little brief stint by an artist named, I believe his name is Dasein. Just a little bit of Dasein
That
music.
fucker.
We'll tell you what movie we're going to be talking about next week. So, Dave, are you ready to
I
spin
am ready.
the random year generator? Let's go.
What's it 2?
200.
Ooh.
We haven't
It's
been in the 2000s in a minute,
Millennium.
right?
Oh,
2000.
shit. 2000. Nice.
Y2K.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Millennium.
So next
Will
Will 2K. Will Smith.
next
That's
week we'll
good.
drum up a movie that never happened, just like Y2K.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
We should do we should do the Family Guy.
Dude,
episode.
I will. Yeah, the Family Guy episode's
A
awesome.
flautist, Peter.
Left foot, right foot. Anyway,
Oh my God, Randy Newman. Red lady biting on an apple.
it's one of my favorite episodes.
Gonna take a bite. Nope. Wipes it on her blouse. She takes a bite and another one and another one.
Oh my
That
God.
old
fuck outta
husband walking over. Yeah. I lost my thought. Jesus.
Randy Newman is singing about what he sees.
Well, it's the worst part is like my wife at the moment is going through a Monk phase, so she's rewatching Monk, and he sings the opening song, and all I can think of is that fucking scene every time I hear it.
Oh my God.
Oh man, this is the year of Gladiator,
And I
right?
used to work with Tony Shalhoub.
Yes,
Yes,
it is,
another
yeah.
good-
Yeah, it's the year of
Procedural.
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Sure.
Joaquin.
All right.
Okay, a good procedural, sure. I feel like they yada yada a lot of stuff when I rewatched Gladiator recently, so I hope you don't choose that. All right, people, we're going to be talking about what we've been watching. Our favorite segment of the day. We like to start with Dave. We'll let Brandon's Rex come in here towards the end. You got to stick around for him, though. So, Dave, why don't we get started with you?
Well,
What you been watching?
this week I finished up the Fallout, and I gotta say I squealed like a fucking kid, kicked my feet in the air and danced around the room with the way that ended. Because I am an avid
quite an
gamer,
image.
and I'm playing Fallout 4 again right now. I love that whole thing. I love what they did with the series, and I love where it's about to go. And of course, it's renewed for season 2 now. So yay!
Wow.
And then I started on Star Trek Discovery, which is their season 5, fifth and final season. And they came in hot, man. The series starts with the captain of the starship riding the back of another starship inside the warp bubble. She's outside the ship, riding it. I'm like, somebody saw Dune.
Jesus.
Dave, what is Boy Kills World? What is this? I feel like you know this, but it's coming into limited release next week. This is the Bill Skarsgård where
Oh,
he
yeah.
says, I don't want to be in a clown suit
You
anymore.
haven't seen
I
the
wanna-"
trailer for this
No,
yet?
it's that came out of nowhere. But it looks like
He's
stupid good
deaf.
fun.
He's deaf?
He's deaf, and he's like a crazy assassin,
Yeah.
and it's like just hardcore blood everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like if anyone's seen
Barbarian, the director of Barbarian.
Barbarian producers.
if anyone's seen
yeah,
Hardcore
yeah.
Henry,
Ooh.
it's probably going to be in that vein.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
amazing.
so too. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Awesome. John, what you been watching?
I have been watching that Apple TV series Blackbird from last year.
Oh, yeah. Any good?
Yeah, if you're into the whole serial killer prison, let's try to figure out if he did it or not kind of thing. Like I like that kind of stuff. Yeah, it is good.
I like to
Apple TV.
I like
They're
to
doing
represent my
well.
brothers every now and then.
Apple TV is killing it.
Jesus
Even
Christ,
more than
Dave.
David
said too much.
Zasloff, who somehow had his compensation go up 23% more than 2022 in 2023, despite the fact
Going
that there was a
cross-eyed.
strike for half the year. Half the year, his company was being struck against, and his compensation went up a quarter more than the year before.
It's because Discovery
David
is
Zaslav.
mostly non-scripted, unscripted reality shit.
Yeah.
So
Stop
he
watching your
still made
reality
a lot
shows.
of money.
They actually there was a a company here, so I know someone whose partner works for them, and they bought up a ton of casting for reality TV shows and then just canceled it all and almost put the fucking company out of business.
Just for the tax write-off.
Jesus.
Well, no,
Fucking-
because the strike ended. They're like, oh, well, fuck off, we don't need you. That's
Thank
how
God,
ruthless.
that was a rant
that's-
of mine from the past. These fucking
Yeah.
reality shows were getting
yeah.
out of goddamn
But that's
control.
how
They were horrible.
ruthless Warner Brothers has got now that they're under Discovery.
$50 million could have gotten like 8 shows made. What the fuck did I do? I finished the New Look. I talked about that. I feel like I finished the Quiet on Set. I know I mentioned it. I forget if I had actually talked about finishing it. And then I watched like the bonus episode in there too, which is fucking crazy. And
Oh my god, there's a bonus episode of that.
yeah, it's mostly interviews with people like
It's-
in the wake of
but
it happening. It's
How do you sell that? It's like,
I don't know. I'm watching the show.
Hey,
called
do you
Tiny
wanna
Pretty
see more
Things,
of-
which is, good stuff. Great set, great lighting and stuff. It's good. It's good. But there's so much good shit coming out that I can't wait to get to. I can't wait to talk about with you guys. Can't wait for this semester to end for me. Not seeing shit this week. Can't wait to talk to you in 2 weeks about new shit. But yeah, okay. Brandon, back to you. Let's go. Let it rip. Give us
All
some
right, dude.
recs.
I've seen a lot of good shit recently. So I caught Civil War in the theater, and I'll just echo everything John said. I mean, last week, this movie it's a fucking masterpiece. It might be the best thing he's ever made, which says a lot.
Wow.
It is so effective, extremely upsetting, but extremely entertaining. And just, everything you mentioned, from the sound design to just the genius of shooting it or like telling the story from the perspective of war photography, just is such a brilliant idea.
I've been on that bit where I'm like, I'm gonna go see it. Oh, I don't have time. And I think internally I've been putting it off. But
I understand.
I think
it's going to be
definitely
heavy.
now I'm gonna
Just
go.
go see it.
But it makes the
It's so
medicine go down
entertaining.
easy
You'll
because
still
of
enjoy
how
watching
good.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, I feel like
And-
this is something that needs to be seen on the big screen.
It does. Yeah. And if you can get it in a Dolby kind of setting or whatever, please do.
That's
the
where I'm
sound
going.
is fucking unbelievable. And it's just like it does what he's so good at doing, and just contrasting like just horrific shit with some interspersed with some of the most beautiful imagery you can imagine. There's like a couple of scenes that are just very short, but just have this just incredible imagery to them that I just can't get out of my head, and I won't spoil any of them here. But yeah, go see that movie, dude. It is a masterpiece. I also caught, I think it came out in 2020, that disaster movie Greenland with Gerard
yeah.
Butler.
Wow. Yeah.
My expectations were
Green light?
Greenland, like the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I didn't see that.
Dude,
Yeah, I've seen that.
I was very pleasantly surprised. I mean, it's not high art or anything, but it was effective as hell. I really enjoyed it, way more than I was expecting to. So that one was
Nice.
good. Shout out to Matt and Mark. I watched Razorback for their show, which is
Sure.
That movie fucked
Yeah.
me up as a kid.
I could see that. If I had lived there, I'd be terrified.
I didn't grow up in the outback, but I was in the bush about 6 hours out of Sydney. So yeah, it's
In the bush.
That thing probably has a 6-hour radius. Yeah. And I followed it up on their
not that much of an
recommendation.
exaggeration either.
That's terrifying. I followed it up on their recommendation with his next movie, Highlander, which I thought Razorback was shameless. Highlander's just to the next level.
You've never
Plus-
seen Highlander before?
I'd never seen it,
Oh my god!
dude.
That movie.
When Sean Connery shows up in the peacock cape on
Yeah.
that fucking horse.
with a Scottish accent, and he doesn't even try to hide it.
No, it's unbelievable.
It's Christopher Lambert, dude. It's fucking Raiden.
Yeah.
That's
Now it's
Raiden.
my turn.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Loved it.
Nothing shouts
Scorpion and
a
Sub-Zero.
movie that Matt and Mark
Dangerous.
will get their guests to watch more than fucking Highlander for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been known to quote, "I got something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away."
Fucking Christopher Lambert, dude.
So Clancy
Yeah, it
Brown,
was
get at
awesome.
me. I mean, come on.
I also I rewatched
Huge fan of
Annihilation a couple days before going to see Civil War.
Yeah.
And I
Annihilation,
maintain that it is not by any means a perfect movie, but I fucking love it. I just everything that
something
it
about
lacks,
it, though.
it
There's-
makes up
yeah.
for in its tension and its visual flair. It's just unbelievable. Love his stuff.
Do you think
I love that.
that's
so
I love
good.
that in that he's not afraid to go. Okay, you thought that was weird? Grab the fucking handles
Yeah.
because we're going
It
out
just
there.
keeps ratcheting up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did
Some
we
of the
talk about
coolest-
man on this show?
we did,
You did.
John and I, because
The
Dave
two
was
of
in
you did.
Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't hold back, does he?
He doesn't mark. He doesn't mark.
Yeah. I also saw,
marking.
I'm trying not to repeat Rex that I did on Matt Mark's show. Go check that out if you want to hear more.
Fuck it.
But I did. So I mentioned one Clint Eastwood on their show, The Mule. I'll mention a different one on this one that I also watched recently, which is Flags of Our Fathers, which I had never seen. And I enjoyed.
Did you watch Letters from Iwo Jima?
I haven't
watch the other
rewatched
one?
that
Yeah.
one, but I'd seen that one before, but not this
Right.
one. So I
Letters,
do want to
man.
rewatch Letters as well.
When they get to the Suey scene in that, it's like, oh my god, dude. Oh my god.
Dude, he
Somehow
is
he's
good.
Republican.
I love his
Yeah,
movies.
right?
Yeah. I don't care.
Crazy.
He's awesome.
He's so good.
yeah.
He's hanging on for dear life at this point, so we're sending
Jeez. Oh my gosh,
that.
Clint.
Yeah, he made the news.
Hang in there,
recently.
buddy.
Hang in
Dude.
there, man.
Yeah. And the last one I'll mention, I went and saw a couple weeks ago, Godzilla and Kong New Empire. I don't know if if y'all
I
saw
still
that.
haven't seen it.
Dude, it's so much fun. It's exactly what you know it's going to be, and they deliver perfectly. It's fucking awesome.
Godzilla
Just get a
seems
mega tub of
even more
popcorn.
agile than normal in
And
that
we're
one.
also getting Monarch season 2. That got renewed as well this week.
What? It did?
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's so much
Nice.
fucking
I mean,
shit to watch!
Dude, the
There's
way
so
they
much.
the way they end season 1, you have to. If they'd left it there would have been a fucking riot.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't either.
It's quite interesting because Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell play the same character, but like 60 years apart.
Right.
It's brilliant.
It's cool.
I love
Oh,
you in
cool.
Wall Street. Do they have any scenes together?
No.
Come on, we want the time loop. I think a lot of shows that are 10 episodes should be 6. So it's good to hear that you all are like these shows getting renewed. Okay, let us take a quick break so we can talk about what movie. Dasein, you can have some input on what we're going to be
Sweet.
talking about next week. And then we'll wrap this episode up. So listen to some Dasein, listen to some music. Go listen to his shit on Spotify. Or is there a site that actually...
ever.
Is there any site that actually pays you and gives you money if they watch or go, beside,
No, all of them pay very little, but I don't really care about that. Just go listen to it. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify,
YouTube
Apple,
doesn't give you
Pandora,
money.
all of it.
This is Gondo in Act 3 right here, people.
They're hammering us for copyright strikes and they're not giving you money? What the fuck?
All right, we're
God.
gonna pick a movie and talk to you in a second, friends. Let's go.
And we're back.
We're back.
Wow. With no warning. We're back.
Yeah.
All right,
Fucker.
what a year for 2000s. We've done Crouching Tiger, we've done Mission Impossible 2. That's it, right? There's so much good shit.
It's time I disappear.
Metallica? So we had a pretty good list. We were like maybe Traffic, maybe Memento, but guess what? We're going with a movie that is very streamable that our very special guest Dasein threw in his hat for, and I actually think it's a fantastic choice. Brandon, would you like to announce the film we're going to be talking about next week on the show?
They're going to be talking about Chopper.
Chopper, starring Eric Bana.
Not the droid from Star Wars.
Not the droid from Star Wars. Eric Bana with some funny tattoos that almost looks like he's in what's the company that did like the Reno 911? It almost looks like a Reno 911 type poster for a Guy Ritchie film.
The first time I saw it, I thought it was fucking Danny McBride.
Oh, sure. I can see that. And Andrew Dominic's first feature film based on Mark Chopper Reed, legendary criminal who wrote his own autobiography while serving a jail sentence in prison. From the inside. Can't wait to talk about it next week. Anything else before we go, friends? Dave's literally already packing up his gear. He's so fucking
this
ready
is my
to get
cat's
here.
first appearance.
Oh my god, it's a cat! I thought he was.
Nice.
Oh my god!
Is this the lowest buzzer count that you guys have had? That's a very
Shut
low
up.
number.
Shut up!
Blame Akira Kurosawa.
That's how good the movie is.
Yeah. Maybe I can hold the opposite record from Mark of the lowest number of buzzes.
Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. Well, Brandon, we'll see. Thanks so much for coming on the show. This is what you get for being on one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. That's what you get, low buzz count. But I hope you had a good time. Anything else? Any plugs before we go?
Nah, just the same.
No.
You can find me at all the places John mentions every week. Thanks so much for having me
He
on.
doesn't care about the
blast.
money. 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, however much Spotify pays him this year is totally fine.
I feel like we should also point out that the winner of this show was Brandon with 6 buzzers.
Yay!
6.
Awesome job. Also, Brandon,
Yeah, tied it up.
Stop abusing the buzzers.
the Guzzed Bush. All right, friends. We'll see you next week. We're talking about 2000
something you
and
tried
the
in college.
film Chopper. Oh, yeah.